all Sergeants of Arms. Thank you so much, all Sergeants at Arms, Samantha. My name is Francoise Bowen, and I'm the Toastmaster of the day today. I am actually live and direct from the Caribbean island of Antigua and Barbuda. As you can see, I have the tropical trees on my gallery. So you know what? I'm sending all the love, the warmth, and everything to each and every one of you who are feeling cold. Welcome. Today's event is one we are all waiting for. Evaluation. Who likes to give feedback? A lot of us don't like doing it, but you know what? Today, we're going to learn a lot about effective evaluation. For our guests who are wondering, what is this event really? Let me tell you more about the club. Leadership Speak is an advanced club. It is a premier club for experienced Toastmasters to become better self-directed leaders. To be leaders as such, we need the ability to inspire others. The mindset of an evaluator is critical to being an inspiring leader. The workshop will focus on the key skills that you can master as an evaluator that will enable you to be highly effective as a leader outside of Toastmasters. Besides the workshop, guess what we also have in? The contest to help the evaluation skill levels of the participants. It will be followed by a panel composed of the World Champion Public Speakers finalists of 2022. Yes, and Adeline, TM Fersey, and immediate past President Brent, you're going to hear a lot from them. It's going to be a very exciting day today. Welcome to Leadership Speak today, Saturday, 1st October, and welcome to October 2022. I will now call on, we have an exciting segment which is called the Educational, and this will be led by Brahm Memone. Brahm Memone, we are now into the evaluation workshop. The virtual lecture is now yours, Brahm Memone.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. Leadership Speak is fundamentally about leadership. It is about leadership development, getting better at being a self-directed leader. Now, there are some key skills that a leader needs to have. I would call them your assets. These are the assets a leader should have, must have, and need to learn to have to become a great leader. Now, what are those key skills? Well, there's several of them. Of course, being able to stand up and speak with conviction and confidence is one of the key skills. However, and even better and above that is evaluations. In fact, evaluations is fundamentally the best skill that you can ever learn at Toastmasters. And I will tell you why. Let me get my technology going here for you guys, and then we'll go into that. It works. All right. Whenever my technology works, I celebrate. So advanced evaluations. Here are the several reasons why we need to learn about evaluations. I will rejig my technology a little bit. Oh, it's working on this. I've got several screens. Okay, thank you. So now, ladies and gentlemen, here are some key reasons why we need to learn about evaluations. And if I press the right buttons, we'll get to that, right? Good. Okay, so the number one thing is in evaluations is the ability to observe keenly and deeply. Be present in the moment as to what is unfolding in front of you, in front of the screen where the speaker is speaking. in an organization, the keen ability to observe people around you in your meetings, in your collaborative teams, people who report to you, people you report to be able to observe as to the dynamics and being able to give the right feedback from that observation and to tune yourself accordingly as well as to where you're going with the team. So observation is key. It means to remove your disposition, the disposition that you have in terms of how you react and respond automatically, and become more aware. So disposition is all about becoming aware. It's all about self-awareness, and self-awareness is the key thing before you become self-directed, which is what leadership speak is all about. It's about how can you be a better self-directed leader, a better self-directed human being, in fact. It's all to do with observation and then getting away from the current automatic disposition to something bigger, expanding. Right? Let me give you an example actually here, a great story. Now, you know, if you've read a book, or suppose you read a book by a certain author, and you know, you read the book and you went half and you like thought, said, this is complete BS. Who is this author? Why did he even write this book? Why is it popular? This is a book I would never recommend. All right. And so, you know, you put away the book, you actually give it away to somebody else or throw it out. That's how much you disliked the book. Now, one day you're asked to be an evaluator, like today, maybe, perhaps. Now, a speaker stands up and his speech is about how great that book was that you've disliked, how amazing that book was, and what it did for them, how it changed their life, and all those wonderful things that people talk about when they read a great book. Now, you are the evaluator. What are you going to do? Think about it. You never liked the book. You, in fact, read it halfway and you threw it away. Observe, right? What the dynamics of the speaker are. And there's certain dynamics that are happening that you need to observe. You're going to remove your disposition as to where you're coming from about the author and really look at what the speaker is conveying. And you still don't have to accept it, right? That gives rise to being self-directed and a highly collaborative person. Collaboration is key to that. Is how can I collaborate with the speaker as an evaluator, no matter what I thought about what is being said? Have you ever been in done a speech where you've done the speech and the evaluators has said, no, that is not the right way, and this is the way you should have thought? Have you come across that? I have, and that is not an evaluator, right? It means, therefore, being present and listening very actively as to what is being said, every word that's being conveyed, the vocal variety, the gestures, the eye contact, what's really going on here with the speaker, and are they being effective? Now, just because you didn't like the book, you know, to hell, you know, this speaker is useless, that shouldn't even enter the conversation. No matter how bad or how good the speaker was speaking, active listening is very, very important. And then to begin to understand that person's point of view. Now, isn't it incredible that you may have total disagreement? You put that aside and say, what is this person's point of view? And can I understand where they're coming from? That is what makes you a great debater. That makes you a great person to be able to, a great negotiator. A person that can persuade and implement new ideas and push new ideas and inspire people is all these things that come from an evaluation. And you never thought of this before like that, did you? Evaluations don't happen only in the 3-minute slot, and then outside of the 3-minute slot, you're somebody else. Evaluation skills that are learned have to be applied right across your life, right across your leadership positions, anywhere that you are holding in your organizations and anywhere else. It's continuous. It's not like a 3-minute slot of fame. It is not evaluation. Evaluation, when you get it and it's applied everywhere in your life, that's an evaluation. That's being a great evaluator. Once you've got the observation, disposition, active listening, understanding, then comes the feedback as to now, where am I standing now? Did I move from a position? Did I see something? Can I give feedback on the speaker? Was the content great? Did it move the audience? Did the audience get inspired, informed, motivated, persuaded, and so on? How did the speaker come across in terms of their word usage, their language, their eye contact, and all those things come into play. That's a great evaluator. Now you put aside something and you learn something new. You stepped forward into a new realm and given feedback. As a manager, as a leader in your own organizations, these things are paramount in the new model of leadership that we always talk about, being more human, not authoritarian, my way or out, right? This is it. This is what you will really need in the future as we go along. Right now, the world is changing tremendously. You'll need all these things. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is critical thinking. If you heard of Elon Musk's speeches or some of those great big entrepreneurs from the Silicon Valley or anywhere else, they say critical thinking is missing in organizations. People are not able to think critically. Critical thinking is so important. And evaluations, if it's done properly, if you run the proper techniques of evaluation, it is all about critical thinking. And it raises your emotional intelligence. Why does it raise your emotional intelligence? It's simply because you have to put aside your disposition and really be present with the speaker, even if you may have disliked that author, you hate the subject, whatever. You are present to what is really being said, and you're trying to understand the speaker so that you can give them great feedback. That is what's called raising your emotional intelligence. And therefore, if this critical thinking and emotional intelligence is applied in all the clubs globally, there'll be no conflicts in clubs, will there? There'll be no conflicts in districts. And as you know, from if you're a club coach and you've been called into a club, or some of your clubs that are suffering, these things are missing. Or if you're not able to do what you're supposed to be doing, try to become a good evaluator and see how you can step forward and become a better leader, right? In organizations, in Toastmasters, anywhere else. Now, do you begin to get what an advanced evaluation is, why I'm emphasizing that at Leadership Speak? We are all about leadership growth, development, and being a better self-directed leader. So evaluation mastery, ladies and gentlemen, is all about learning great feedback. A great leader is very good at giving very good feedback, both upwards and downwards, managing upwards to leaders that you're reporting to and to people that are reporting to you, and as well as laterally to those people you work with, your peers in collaborative teams. It gives you a high value skill to be able to negotiate when things are in disagreement, to be able to negotiate outcomes that are consistent with perhaps the group's vision, or with the organization's direction, or perhaps negotiate an outcome that is acceptable to everyone on the team. Being able to persuade your point when you want to make your point yourself without making anybody else wrong, and being able to speak to a point and being able to persuade as to what needs to be done, which is how can the speaker become better? What will take them to the next level? All right, inspire them is it's what I'm talking about. Actually, it's the next point, I think. Being able to debate, I pointed out a little bit earlier. In a debate, of course, especially if you've been in a real debate, let alone the debate of life. If you've been in a debate, a formal debate, And if you've done it the way it's supposed to be done, you're supposed to sometimes even agree with your opponent if they really make a point that is the point that is true and affect. Sometimes you have to take that point into account before you conclude your own debate, right? And sometimes, of course, it may not be. And so how do you do that with empathy, right? And yet put across. And if you listen to great debaters, those things are present, which you learn because of the way you evaluator's mind works, right? Which was the previous slide. And then the ability to articulate your thoughts clearly, concisely, and focused on the issue at hand. Of course, I'm just repeating myself when I say rational, it's raising your emotional intelligence very high, being very rational. Key thing, of course, in the end, when the speaker leaves and you left the stage, the speaker says, I will now be ready to do my next speech. Then the employee that is reporting to you will say, great feedback, I will strive to do better. These are the skills I need to add it to my repertoire so I can become better and become a better collaborator and a better leader as well in my own. So as you can see, feedback is not that 3-minute slot. It is life. In your organizations, in Toastmasters, and anywhere else. This is advanced evaluations, and evaluation mastery is very, very necessary. It's the key leadership skill. It's the key communication skill. It is the key skill that is extremely powerful in making you a better leader, into making you a greater leader. So there you go. I will pause here before I go into the judges form and what the judges form is, and now the actual evaluation, the 3-minute evaluation I will go into, especially in a contest, because we are going to have a contest after I finish talking, right? And we have a test speaker. So now what are the key things, fundamental things within a contest and what's going on? We're going to look at that. And at the end, we will have question and answers as well. So ladies and gentlemen, let's look at, there's 4 categories in an evaluation for a judge. This is what they are looking for in an evaluator. What they're looking for is analytical quality, right? The recommendations being made, whether they're positive, specific, helpful, or let's go back to analytical quality. Clear, focused, right? Which I had mentioned before. Recommendations, positive, specific, and helpful, right? Everything that I've said is right here. The technique, which is sympathetic, sensitive, and motivational. And there should be a summary at the end, which is concise and encouraging. And I'll go into those in detail. But as you can see, when I say 40, 30, 15, 15, 40 points are allocated to analytical quality, the highest number of points. The analytical quality, what is really being said, and whether they are being, the evaluator is able to speak clearly and focused about the feedback, right? 30 points through the recommendations being made, how the technique was applied, 15 points maximum, and 15 points being concise, and the summation. All these, of course, add up to 100. So for those of you who've done judging an evaluation contest, you know this is the judge's form, right? Okay, so now what does each one of these actually mean? If you look at behind the judge's form, normally, this is what it's going to say. Analytical quality is the effectiveness of the speaker. You are able to analyze the strengths and weaknesses of the speaker's presentation. Right? Are your comments clear and logical? And can you identify specific strengths and weaknesses of the presentation. Can you use that in your life outside? Yes, definitely, like I've said before, right? That's the analytical quality. And that is 40 points. Recommendations, 30 points. In the recommendations, besides pointing out the strengths and weaknesses of a speech, offer specific recommendations for improvement. Recommendations should be practical, helpful, positive, and they should enable the speaker to improve his or her next presentation. That's recommendations. The technique, which is 15 points maximum. The technique is how you present the recommendations. Your capability to grow and develop is right embedded in here, right? And of course, make sure that you're sensitive to the feelings and needs of the person, yet inspire and encourage them, and yet make sure that they improve their skill level in your organizations or in a speech at Toastmasters. The technique is important. It makes you more human. It makes you more present to the person and what's really going on. And last but not least, and this is very, very important. In fact, at the club level, you should have a summation. And sometimes at the club level, not in a contest, when people are doing an evaluation, they forget the summary. And in summary, you have to really summarize what you've said, and it's 15 points. And the summation is about how the evaluator concludes the evaluation. This is the judge's form, right? So you, as an evaluator, how are you going to sum up at the end of your meeting with somebody you're giving feedback to, at the end of your evaluation? The conclusion should briefly summarize the evaluator's comments and suggestions and be positive and encouraging. And then you finish. And then you walk off the stage and the speaker says, wow, I'd like to do the same speech actually, and rather than another speech, let me try the same speech again. And you can if you want to. There's no rule in Toastmasters that says you cannot. Ask your VP of Education if you can. Especially if you are in level 1, of course, you have to repeat a speech if you want to, or you could do a different speech using the feedback you've gotten, right, as well. And then once you've done that, you are actually, if you're in level 1 and you're just starting out, I mean, in an advanced club, of course, you've all done level 1, level 2, and level 3 minimum. But if you're starting out, in level 1, you also encouraged to do an evaluation right off the bat after your first 3 or 4 speeches, right? For those of you who are manning the Sergeant Rams or co-hosts, there's people waiting at the door to come in, and that's flashing on my screen. If you can let them in. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, this was the training, right, that I'm about to conclude. We have got about a few minutes for question and answer, if there is any. I hope there's a lot of questions and answers, and then I'll finish. So, any questions or anything from the audience?
Brahm, can I raise a question?
Please raise your hand, electronic
Yes,
hand, so we can see who it is. Sorry, who was the first person to raise
It's
a
me.
name, please? We don't know it's me.
Zahara.
Name.
I'm Zahara from Sri Lanka.
Zara. Okay, what's your question, Zara?
How do we in an offline contest, we can build a rapport with the speaker, eye contact and all, but how do we achieve that in an online situation in a better way?
Well, as an evaluator, what you're looking for in an online contest is whether the speaker has eye contact with the camera. When they're looking most of the time away and at the screen, and they're not looking at the camera, then there's no eye contact with the audience. So it's camera eye contact.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, we have the electronic hand up is Latisha Ramanayake.
Yes, I have this question. Now, when we evaluate a speech within 2 to 3 minute time, what is the most important segment of it? Whether it is the intro, whether it is the conclusion, or whether it is the body. What has the most impact on the speaker and the audience in particular?
Well, like I said, you know, you have to really focus on the whole speech and whether it made sense or not. You know, the analytical quality of your evaluation is important. So the analytical quality has 40 points, right? Maximum. And the analytical quality means to analyze the speech, you know, how they began the speech, what the content was, whether there were 3 points, 4 points, were there good transitions, were there eye contact, were the gestures, was it consistent with the message, the gestures and the eye contact and the voice. That is all analytical, right? That's what you're doing. And how they were delivering it and how they concluded, and was there a message or a takeaway, or is it just informational, persuasion, negotiation, inspirational, whatever it was, what was it all about? And did it happen, and did the audience take it away? So that is analytical. So I'm not saying that you focused on, oh, your opening was great, so your speech is great. That's not what I say, right? So the analytical reasoning is all about the whole speech and how did it come across, and did it make sense, and did the audience get anything out of it? Next is Meena.
Thank
Oh,
you so
sorry,
much.
is that okay? Right, what I say? Okay, Meena, go ahead.
Hello,
Emma.
Brahm.
Hi, good
Yeah,
to see you, Meena.
Yes, good to be here. I have two questions. First question is, how many points should we stress on? It could be the areas in which the speaker did well, or the areas in which the speaker can improve. How many points can we stress on in our evaluation? And my
There's
second,
no rule. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, and my second question is, when it is a club evaluation, we'll be able to get in touch with the speaker. We will ask what are the points they need to focus on, and we can give recommendations on which area, how they're performing. But if it is a club contest, the contest, we will not be able to communicate with the speaker. So how do we handle that challenge? These are my two questions.
Great question. So I get it that sometimes you ask the speaker at the club level when they're doing a speech, what's your next, you know, where are you growing next? What should I really look for in your speech, right? That's the first point. And absolutely, they will tell you, you know, in my past 2 or 3 speeches, I wasn't doing proper eye contact, which means they were not looking in the camera, or if the physical, you know, looking properly at the audience, you know, making eye contact with a few people across the audience in physical meeting, or eye contact with the camera, for example, right? They could have said that was missing, so you look for that specifically, and you'll make a comment. Your eye contact was great. You still need to improve. Period. Right? But then the whole thing is still analytical quality, you know, the technique, you know, and so on, and the conclusion and so on. Still the same. How did you open? What was your content? Did it follow through? And was there a conclusion that matched the opening and the title and so on? That is still there. And yet, yeah, your eye contact, that since you mentioned it can improve, or you are now doing great with eye contact, continue doing it. And so on and so forth. And then I think I've answered both your questions, Meena. Is that right or not yet?
Yeah, a number of points. Do we have any restriction? Like how many what would be the best practice to make an effective evaluation? How many strengths and how many challenges can we highlight for the speaker?
Well, there's no like written anywhere as to how many you can, but in your technique, it will be very clear that when you're mentioning that this is what you're doing, make sure that it is overall positive and inspiring, that overall it moves the speaker forward. So whatever that is, there's no hard and fast rule. So it's not about saying all these good points and then 1 or 2 bad points, or all the bad points and a couple of good points. That's what you're trying to get at and allude to. Is that is not the purpose of an evaluation. Evaluation is, you know, this was your content, this is how you opened, this is your content, this is what you said, and I think it moved the audience, and this is what you should do to improve this content in this manner, and the content was great in this manner. And that is it. If you really apply the techniques that I've just mentioned, and if you look at the judges' ballot, it doesn't mention anywhere as to what it is, right? In the end. Okay, next, Marcel. Hi, Marcel.
Hi, Ram. My question is highly related to Mina's question about the number of points. When you mentioned there's no hard and fast rule, but do you have any, let's say, preference? Do you keep to a certain structure or do you keep it flexible?
Say that again, Marcel.
So do you let's say, have any specific preference, let's say one strength and two area of improvements, or every time you keep it flexible? Depending
it's totally flexible. It depends totally on whether the speaker is brand new. If they're doing an icebreaker and they're brand new speaker, there will be no sort of all the rules that I just mentioned will not even exist, right? I will just tell the speaker, I like your content. This is what I understood from your content. This is where you're coming from. This is where you're going in your life. And thank you very much. And sometimes I'll say, you will learn in the future speeches how to do eye contact and gestures. Don't worry about it now. You've done great in these areas that you were able to come and speak. And now if it's a level 3's pathway speaker, then you get a different evaluation. I'll go back to right where I said the technique, how you open the speech, and how you came up with your content and your conclusion. And it all depends on the speaker. And I have no rules. I've been a Toastmaster for 26 years. I've been doing perhaps evaluations for almost 26 years. And in my very first evaluation contest that I entered in within a few months of being a Toastmaster, I failed miserably. But there's no hard and fast rules, none whatever. If you keep to hard and fast rules, 2 of this and 1 of that, you will fail to give the speaker the necessary evaluation that will shift them to the next level. So I don't have any hard and fast rules. And you will get that as you become more and more. The more you are with the Toastmasters and the more experience you get, you will find that you don't need all those rules, right? Okay, we have one more question because it is almost half an hour. So we've got 2 more minutes. According to my clock, I don't know, as if we have a yellow light going on there. So, Pragya.
So, Brahm, my question is that recently we had a contest and we had people who did not talk too much about what was amazing in that speech. All they wanted to say was wrapped in 1 or 2 lines, but they had really good areas of improvement and they really ranged more than 3 areas of improvement. But they told how and what of each of those areas. So is it okay in a contest to not have too many good points told? Just tell them in brief and rather focus in a more positive manner, using good words, which supports what we are saying, and telling why and how, and have maybe 3 or 4 or more areas of improvement rather. Will that
everything that I said right now, it all applies to a contest. And so I'm just trying to bring back that slide. There we go. So very quickly, let's see now. See all these points here, and let's take. This is it, right? This is all that is there for the judges to judge you on. It's all up to you then what you do. Like I said, these questions are so detailed and technical that are not on here. It is, are you clear and focused? Are you making the recommendations? Are they specific and positive and helpful? It doesn't matter whether it's focusing on this or focusing on that. It doesn't really matter. As far as the judges get this, right? And as far as the speaker gets inspired and says, I want to do the next speech, I want to be the next contest. Wow. That is what the speaker should be left with. And when the judges get that, you are the winner. Or at least you are one of the top evaluators, right? If you have an employee that's reporting to you, or if you're in an organization and you have to give feedback to somebody, there's a 360 feedback going on and you're asked to do one of those feedbacks, what would you do? Right? Same thing. It's nothing different. Nothing different. It's exactly the same thing. The red light has gone on. Thank you. Exactly half an hour. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We can talk a lot more. Of course, this could have been an hour's workshop, but of course, we only have half an hour today. Thank you very much all for coming. And now you know where Leadership Speak stands, because Leadership Speak is where leaders are made, created. They get better at being leaders. They get better at being self-directed leaders, and evaluations are key in leadership skill, Leadership Speak. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Brahm, for such in-depth information about evaluation. Thank you. The hands went up, and I am going to encourage anyone, if you still have questions, just post it in the chat, and Brahm will look at the questions and will respond to you maybe privately or at the end of the meeting. But if you still have questions, just post it in the chat and he will take note of it. And now we're now into the contest of the evaluation. I will call on our speaker. I'm going to make sure I pronounce the name correctly. Our speaker for the contest is Toastmaster Pragya Jain. And the title of the speech is The Story. Toastmaster Pragya, are you ready?
Am I clearly audible and visible?
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, The Story by Pragya Jain. The Story by Pragya Jain.
Raise your hand if you have either read, heard, or told a story. Friends, amazing. Now raise your hand if you know how clearly you have been telling a story every single time to your own self. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I read this particular quote which intrigued me a lot, that we all tell stories. Stories to convince ourselves, story to make us believe things, story to keep us happy, story to keep us out of stress, stories, every single time. When I read this quote, I went back to the journey of my life and I tried to realize how these stories that I have told myself over this period of time have created the kind of person I have become now. And does that story need change? Let me tell you. As I was a teenager, I didn't have my father since the age I was 4, and the only thing I knew to convince myself that everything is fine around me was to create a story every single time I was faced with a situation wherein I would be seeing my friends' parents, fathers coming with them to events, wherein I will be feeling insecure because I need my father in that situation. Because I will be bullied every single time telling, oh, poor girl, she doesn't even have her father. What will she do? As a teenager, having a father was my powerful support. But that support was missing. And what took place of it was simple. Stories that I created. Story which told, Pragya, it's better you don't go to a party. Pragya, it's better you don't be amongst those friends who are going out with their fathers. Pragya, it's better you spend most of your time in the library because that will be a safe place for you. So many more stories which I kept on creating for my own self without even realizing the impact I was having. I was losing on my confidence. From an extreme extrovert person which I was becoming an introvert. Somebody who wanted to remain in her own cocoon shell. Because these stories were creating me into a safer person. At least that's what I felt. As an life moved forward and I got married. It was a love marriage. And in Indian culture, especially a Marwari culture where I belong to, love marriage is a taboo. Again, a new journey of creating stories started. Pragya, you need to behave in a more calmer manner to fit into this house. Pragya, you should not be thinking forward because this is an Orthodox family. Pragya, you should not be working out because parents and in-laws will not like it. Pragya, you should be a stay-at-home mom now because you have 2 young kids. Again, a journey of me telling stories started. Because this time, I wanted to prove myself to the people around me that I'm a perfect daughter, a perfect mother, a perfect wife, a perfect daughter-in-law. And all of these provings had one story in common. Pragya, you need to put yourself into cages. Cages which these stories are building for you. If any one of you sitting in those audience right now says, no, I have not done it, you have done it, you're just not ready to accept it probably. But there was one fine day when my 8-year-old son came to me and asked, Mama, why are you always so irritated? Why do you always keep shouting on me? Why do you always keep telling, don't do this, don't do that, this is not right, that is not right? Why are you like this, Mom? That night, I could not sleep the whole night because I had a hard-hitting bang from an 8-year-old telling me that there was something wrong in my life. And I was telling him a story as he was lying next to me that particular night, which I spent awake. I realized that most of the part of the story that I was telling him was all about adjustments. How a girl adjusted into a family, how kids should adjust to and obey to what the parents say and not think about what they like, how you should adjust to the society, how you should be pally and comfortable around people you are with. Was I doing it right? That one night started changing something in me because I knew I was going wrong and this was not the happier me. Although everybody else around me was happy with the person I am. My dear friends, that one night, which did not let me sleep, woke me up for now that I am a person now. And it was quite simple. Every single morning from that particular day, I slowly started changing my stories. Whenever I felt I need to keep somebody happy, I would change a story and tell, you need to be happy too. Whenever I felt like closing myself inside the doors, I told a story to myself that no, Pragya, you have to go out, you have to do it, not for somebody else, but for yourself. Every time I felt like shouting on my kids because I was irritated on my own self, I started telling a story. Today, you are going to have a happy day. Today, you are going to spend good time with your kids. Today, for 5 minutes at least, you are going to live for your own self. Today, you are going to be what you want to be and not what people around you want to be. These changes weren't easy because these negative thoughts will keep on coming in my mind. That's how humans are made, right? That's how you and me are made. But every single morning for 2 years now, I have been doing this particular practice and the impact has been beautiful. Now when I get up, I don't take so many hours to change my story. And the best part I am having now is I'm creating a beautiful story for my life, which is giving me happiness for my own self. Our stories create what we become. Are you ready to change your story? Put in the best effort. It might take time, but that story will be worth telling. Are you ready for it? Over to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Pragya, for your speech. I'm going to ask also sergeant arms, contestant evaluators into the breakout room.
Breakout rooms are open, and evaluators, if they can just join, please. Waiting on evaluator 3 and 4, Madam Toastmaster. Naru and Fabiola, are you in the room? If you could just click on the pop-up that came up and go into the breakout room, please. Still waiting for Naru, Madam Toastmaster. I'm not sure how you want to handle this.
Okay. You can
They've
you
not
put can you put them in the room then?
I already assigned them to the room, so they have to enter themselves. So a pop-up should have appeared, and if they missed the pop-up at the bottom, there's join breakout room, because I have already moved them.
I'm checking, and I think they've all moved, right? Because I can't see them in the room.
Yes,
Okay,
but it
so go
shows
ahead.
it shows not joined, Brahm. Just if you open on the breakout rooms, it says not joined.
Nurul. Hi, Nurul, are you there? Can you unmute yourself, Nurul? Hello, Nurul.
I can find.
Okay, so Nurul may have a power outage or something is happening because the internet is very weak in Sri Lanka right now. So we will discount her as being in the room, and that's okay. Let's continue, please. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Good thing this is a good example of what can happen in a real contest, but we are learning every day. Every time you attend Toastmasters, you're learning. Alrighty, to our speaker, Pragya, how are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Thank you, I'm wonderful. And thank you for sharing your story. I mean, I'm actually moved because the stories we tell ourselves, it either break us or make us. And we must be careful and be mindful. What are we telling ourselves? And this leads me to my question. And I believe it would be who, or I should say, who inspire you and why? Is it you inspire yourself?
You're not audible. Is it only for me or just speaking through?
No, she's not audible. Madam Toastmaster, we can't hear you. your connection's timing in and out.
All right, can you hear me now? Are you hearing me better?
Yes, we
Yes.
can. Thank you.
Okay, the question, who inspires you and why?
For the recent example, if I see my kids are the ones who are inspiring me a lot nowadays, because I've seen my kids getting irritated at times, and they'll be frustrated with things because of staying home and all. But the way within moments they shift this whole idea of story, they'll be irritated and frustrated in a moment, and then suddenly they will say, no, I want to have fun. Just 2 words, I want to have fun, and they will completely change the way they look at things, which as adults I feel is really, really difficult for all of us to switch gears like that. But I feel that's something which we need to do to change our mindsets. That's why they are inspiring me a lot now.
All right. You shared a lot of tips within your presentation. Do you have at least 2 or 3 extra tips? Do you have at least 2 or 3 extra tips that you would like to share with us to change your story? Because there's a scripture that says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So what extra 3 tips you would like to share that you might not have used in your presentation earlier?
One thing which I believe is called the alternative mindset. I have talked about a bit in the speech as well. But the alternative mindset is something wherein immediately, as soon as you get a particular negative thought, you instantly superinvade that thought with a positive contra thought to it. It does take time. It does take a lot of practice to it. But that is something which has really started working for me, because there was a point of time where I had dropped into a mode of depression. I did not want to go too deep into the story of it. But this particular aspect was something which really worked for me. And the second thing which has absolutely worked for me is to have a balance of how much I would want to give in to the people around me, the social side of me, and how much would I want to reserve myself to who I am, what is my purpose, which I connect to. And that struggle is mostly where we give up to what others like, what will make others happy. But you either have a balance or keep the inclination a little bit 2% extra towards your own self. In India, it's beautifully said that if the women of the house is not happy, the house cannot stay happy. So it has been focused since the olden times that the women of the house, you yourself, are supposed to stay in a good, healthy, happy mood. So that's where I feel these 2 things really work well. Concentrate on yourself. Don't make yourself the last priority in your list. You should come first.
Okay. Are you there, Francois? You look frozen.
I think she's having some network issues.
So we are almost at the end of the 5 minutes.
That's a different topic, Rhea. The one you have given is a different topic.
While Francois is frozen, I'll just speak so that while she sorts her internet out. Thing is that our members are from all over the world, and so certain places right now there's power outages, internet's down, like in Sri Lanka, South Africa, and the Caribbean, and we have members from those places as well. So we have to bear in mind that. But thank you so much, Pragya, for being here. The 5 minutes are over. Madam Timer, note that the 5 minutes are over and done. I was timing it here myself as well. So we will now call on the evaluators one at a time. Thank you very much, Pragya, for being here with us today.
Thank you so
much. So while we are still waiting for Francois to sort her internet out, hopefully she'll come back. Our first evaluator is going to be and Samantha. Will you be able to bring the speakers back in one at a time? Are you there, Samantha?
Yes, I am, and I've just
and Sandi Emdin, please.
Yes, I've sent a request to move. If she does not come, I will go fetch her.
Thank you very much. Great. We have, welcome, Sandi Emdin. Sandi Emdin.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters, and especially to Pragya. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I feel like this speech this morning was written just for me, and I'm going to tell you why in the next couple of minutes. First, I'd like to tell you, though, what I think you did exceptionally well from beginning to end. You used gestures throughout your speech, but in a manner, to me, in my opinion, that was so purposeful. You showed the size of your child, and you just used gestures throughout. And I sometimes see people using gestures throughout, but not nearly as mindfully or as effectively. So I love that you used the floor, that you stood, and that you gestured throughout your speech. You made great eye contact and with the camera and the audience. And I didn't have to struggle at all. I was able to tune in totally to the content of your message. The reason your message had such an impact on me was because it was about how we let go of our power when we try to be what everybody else wants us to be, and how when we change our story within here, we change a whole bunch of things. And I think it's really unique to parents how much their children teach us and how we can just learn a lesson from them while we're trying to teach them things instead. And your 8-year-old son knew what he was talking about when he called you on your attitude and your behavior, being agitated and grumpy and short-tempered. And my children have taught me many things as well. One of my favorite quotes in the world, and it's on the back of my business card, is by Wayne Dyer, although many people have said it. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And on your journey of life and parenting, you have learned that when you do what your heart is calling for and stand in that, you are much happier. And the ripple effect of that is that everybody who loves you or who is around you also feels that genuine happiness and that genuine feeling of doing what's in your heart rather than what you think. You know, many of us, our culture, our family, our cities are telling us, or in some way or another, even the media, how to think and how to behave. And you made that big change. And at the end of your presentation, you asked us, you called on us, are you ready to make that change? One thing I would say to improve or to change or to get your listener ready, I might have changed the title. I'm a title stickler, and a couple of examples I might have is change your story or the stories we tell ourselves. I really feel better for having heard the speech because it reminded me of how much power we have when we change our mind and our mindset. And I thank you for that, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Sandi. While we are waiting for our Toastmaster of the day to sort out her technology, she's back in the room, but technology isn't quite working yet. I will still continue with that. Our next, we'll wait for 1 minute as well for the judges, because we have judges that are judging, so they'll now start judging for a minute. And then there'll be also an audience vote at the end, as well as the judges, what they will tell us how they're judged, and the audience will tell us how they're judged, and we'll see, comparing the two, whether the judges are right or the audience are right, or did the audience learn something from the judges, because the judges are pretty extraordinary today. So we'll see. No pressure, of course. We're waiting for 1 minute to go on. In the meantime, Leadership Speak is a world-class premier club for leadership development to be better self-directed leaders, because the basic fundamental thing missing in people's lives, in organizations, in Toastmasters, especially in Toastmasters, it's really amplified here, is being self-directed. And so this is what we're really committed to. Of course, we're also speaking, so we learn how to speak with conviction and confidence and so on. A minute is over, so we'll bring our next evaluator in. And our next evaluator is already here. Perfect. Now, this is not, of course, a real contest. It's a quasi contest. So that's why I was speaking during that 1 minute rather than totally being silent and awkward and so on. Welcome, Hannah. Hannah Schmidt. Hannah Schmidt.
Evaluations require that I listen very carefully and to evaluate effectively. This is one thing I have learned in Toastmasters. Contest Chair, Madam Toastmaster. Pragya, thank you very much for letting me be part of your story, your life story from the beginning to the end, your childhood, your emotions about your no-love marriage. Raising your hand at the beginning attracted my interest immediately. What is she going to talk about? I want to speak about your vocal variety. You used volume, you used pitch, pace, and pauses to build tension and to add the impact. It conveyed the emotions of the speech to me and magnified the meaning of your speech. Your good vocal variety engaged my listening skills and stimulated them. Ralph Emerson said, the most precious thing in a speech is the pauses, or are the pauses. The other one, your body language, your hand gestures communicated a powerful belief in your message and complemented the story. The hands did not fidget as though showing that you are nervous. They showed emotions and were descriptive, like crossing your hands in front of your chest when you spoke about emotions and the day that you could not sleep. A full use of the virtual screen keeps me and the audience focused. The third point I'd like to speak on is your eye contact. With Zoom nowadays, meetings, the main focus is on the top part, your face and your eyes of the speaker, especially the eyes. Here I feel the eye contact could have been a bit more stronger or intensified. You used the title of your story a few times to remind me what your intention was. The impact has been beautiful. Your call to action, create stories to what we want to be, was impactful. To conclude my evaluation, great speeches are only learned when the evaluator is great. Contest Chair, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Our Toastmaster is now back, but I will hand it over to her after the next speaker so that we all settle in smoothly in between. Thank you very much, Hannah. Our next, we will wait for 1 minute. So, Madam Timer, give us a minute. And while we are waiting for the judges to judge, I will try not to speak as much. Our next evaluator is, since this is not a formal contest and she was still in the room and we don't know whether what she heard, she hasn't heard, we will continue with the next evaluator who's going to be Nurul if she's in the room. Nurul, can you hear me? Are you in the room? We can see her somewhere, but I'm in the room, but it looks like her technology isn't working. Looks like her technology isn't working because she isn't replying. So after Nurul, the next evaluator after Nurul was Fabiola Cleofa. So we will move on to Fabiola. So just get Madam Sergeant at Arms, if you can prepare Fabiola to come in, and then I will hand it over to our, when Fabiola finishes, our Toastmaster of the day will take over. Her technology is not working. Thank you very much. Fabiola, please, if you can bring Fabiola on the screen.
She is here.
Thank you. All right. Fabiola Cleofa. Fabiola Cleofa. All yours.
Thank you very much. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Pragya. Thank you so much for the message that you gave us. My story, your story, change your story. And actually, you brought me a message that I will be using now. Can you imagine that I haven't looked at my agenda? So I wasn't aware that I had to take on the role of being an evaluator today. So now I will be evaluating, but changing my story, as you have brought us a lot of nuggets when and why we should apply this. One of the things that I loved about your presentation was that since I was not aware, I was not looking at my screen, but your voice and the message that you had carried everything. So, not having the contact of looking at you, I could follow you by simply listening to your voice. And then that drew me in also, because at a certain moment I opened my screen and I saw your communication with your audience. Your facial expression was really draw us in into your message to listen and capture all that you were telling us. Putting all this together, what I can give you to improve on your presentation is to continue managing that special that you have in your voice to carry your message. Keep on improving on that so that whatever you need to convey gets to the person. So this is what I can bring to you. A great message that has a content that I can apply immediately, a strong voice that carries your message wherever you are at whatever level you're at, and also a good content. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Fabiola. Now have 1 minute of silence, please. Okay, 1 minute of silence is up. Raam Lakhanpal.
He's in the room. I can't
Ram?
see it though.
Raam
Sorry, Ram.
Lakhanpal.
Yeah.
Can you see us? I'm not seeing you.
Well, I'm here, evaluated number 5.
We can see you, Ram.
Okay.
Yeah, we can
All right,
see you.
thank you.
Go ahead, Ram. Go ahead for your evaluation. Madam Timer, if you can start timing when the speaker speaks. Go ahead, Ram.
Okay.
You're on. We can hear you, we
Okay.
can see.
All right.
Go ahead.
Okay, very good. Pragya, that was a story, a real story. You left me wondering as to what the story is going to be about. They were stories within stories. That was a story and a half. I really like the manner in which you delivered this speech. You left us in a suspense, each and every smaller story within a story. Your energy, abundance, lots of energy. You're connecting right off the bat with the audience with your gestures. You welcome them to participate, to agree to certain things. And I like a great eye contact, voice modulation, rather than just the same old, same old. The culture, the taboo of, for instance, love marriage. And in certain cultures, those things exist still today. And I'm glad that you brought that about. My recommendations, there's certain things. What will take you to a higher level? And I would say one of the things that I noticed is, I would say the 3 Ps. What are the 3 Ps? 3 Ps are pregnant pauses. Effective pregnant pauses will really take you to another level. The other one is a pitch. Pitch, up, down, down, another. And the pace. And the pace was good if you would slow down a little bit. I found that you were rushing a little bit all the time in finishing the game. If you were to slow it down a little bit and say things in a different tonal voice, that make a difference, a lot of difference. Your volume dropped a little bit when you went back a bit. So if you were to adjust that so that it's consistent and it could be heard by everybody. I would have liked to seen your love marriage. How did you get around it? In summary, I saw some good. I didn't see a good speech. I did not see a great speech, but what I saw was a great speech, fantastic storyteller. Keep those storytelling, keep on going. It's very good. Minor tweaks, just minor things here and there will couple to, it'll take you to heaven. In other words, it'll take you to that level where you can win competitions. And I really wonderful. I'm looking forward to your next speech. Madam Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you, Ram. 1 minute of silence, please. Timer. 1 minute of silence. All right, and I'll now call our final evaluator, Sudarshan. Sudarshan.
Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our speaker, Pragya. She came, she spoke, she won hearts. Let me tell you how. Her speech had 3 vital components: integrity, respect, and excellence. Integrity in the fact that she chose to speak about her life to all of us And in that process, she opened herself up to all of us to understand who she really is. Respect for her pain, respect for her feelings, respect for the knowledge that she got, which enabled her to excel to where she has gone to. And of course, excellence. Excellence was evident in the way she had prepared, in the way she spoke, in the way the speech was constructed. If we look at the construction alone, the speech had all of the elements that is required. There was a protagonist, which was herself. There was an antagonist, which was circumstances all around her life. And then there was the climax, where she created the story in her mind, which manifested in her life and took her to where she is today, on the cusp of being a very, very successful speaker among so many other things that she's doing. In all of this, one of the key elements or strands that ran across the speech was the fact that she was earnest in her appeal, she was honest in her effort, and she displayed courage at every stage of her speech. It does take courage to talk about loss of a parent, loss of respect on account of being bullied, and all of that. And all of that was brought out exceedingly well in her speech. Now, if Pragya has to take that next step and go to where she really belongs, in the pantheon of great speakers, there are three elements that she needs to concentrate on. The three things are pace, pitch, and pause. The speech was like a cascade falling down the side of a mountain. It came at us thick and fast, and it had so many elements that we had to absorb. It was almost impossible to keep pace with the speaker. I would highly recommend the speaker to look at slowing down the speed of the speech and probably jettisoning a few of the elements in the speech. There were a lot of anecdotes, and a couple of them could be thrown away from the speech. The second was pause. When you make a poignant point, it's imperative to let the audience absorb what you said, and therefore pauses are required. And then the pitch. The entire speech was delivered at the same pitch, which took away a small element of poignancy from the speech. I would recommend to the speaker that if she can change the pitch according to the tenor of the speech itself and the anecdote being related, it will take her to the next level. All in all, a great speech, and as you all know, Harari says, we humans are the only ones who can tell stories. If we can tell those stories to improve our lives and those of all around us, it will just make life great. Thank you, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Looks like we have another problem with the technology again on the Toastmasters of the Day's side. Are you there, Francois?
All right, can you hear me and see me?
Okay, she's here. If you can continue with if Nurul is here and ask her, or otherwise conclude. Over to you, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we will now have asked our timer to give the timer of our evaluators.
No, we don't, because it's like a contest, so there's no times report.
Wonderful. I will now. Thank you. Thank you. And I will now ask our polls are up, where you will be voting for the best evaluator.
Actually, they can vote for first place, second place, and third place, and they're all on the evaluation. On the poll here. So please vote for first, second, and third place. And then, of course, while you're doing the judges are very busy doing the same thing, and then we will compare right at the end how well you voted against the judges.
Hey, Brahm, Did you update the Google form?
So the Google form wasn't updated, and my apologies. So Sudarshan has replaced the last speaker. Yes, Sharon Jenkins. So Sharon Jenkins is Sudarshan on there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It was happened at the very last minute, actually, just
Thank
before
you.
9:30.
All right, so our time is up for the vote, and we will now timer. Can you let us know if we have time for a 5-minute break?
Yes, I think so. 5-minute break now.
5-minute break, okay? 5-minute break, and we will reconvene right after for the second portion of the meeting.
Toastmaster of the day, I have a small request. If any of the Toastmasters would want to give me a feedback, I've posted my number on the chat box. I would love to have a feedback. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you. Say it in the chat.
Pragya, why don't you share your email as well?
Sorry,
Why don't you share your email address as well?
I'll do that.
Yeah, if anyone would like to type feedback to you in an email.
Sure, I'll do that.
Wonderful job today, by the way.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I'm just confirming you do have the results from the poll.
I have noted down the poll, so I have closed it, or you can go ahead and close it.
Okay, no, just making sure that you've got the results.
I did. Thank you very much. And I've taken the screenshots as well. I hope
Okay.
you noted them as well. So we will announce them at the end of the meeting, right towards the end.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
And the time is up. We
Thank
do
you,
hope
everybody.
you're able to get a quick stretch or to drink a glass of water. The agenda is also in the chat. We will now go into. All right. Okay, so now we will handle it into the. We have now started.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the day. Just meeting is called back to order. Back to you.
Francois, are you there?
Okay, my internet logged me out again.
No worries. I'm standing by whenever you're not here. Go ahead. Okay, so.
Thank you. We'll now.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
I'm going to ask Brahm to please continue on my behalf.
Okay, I can't quite understand what you said just there, but I heard my name. Anyways, can we just continue with this then? With me just introducing the next chapter of what's going on here. We have a panel discussion, and Marianna will be conducting the panel discussion. Marianna Burka is, of course, our Vice President of Education. She's doing a Pathways project on moderating panels, and she'll be moderating the following panel coming up, and she'll be introducing all the panelists, and she'll take it on from here. I don't need to sort of do any more, except that she is the president at Honeymoon City Toastmasters Club, which is in Niagara, and as you know, Niagara is the world's honeymoon capital. Outside of Las Vegas, I suppose, I don't know. So, but they call it Honeymoon City. So the Toastmasters Club is called Honeymoon City. She's a president there. She is a charter member of Leadership Speak, and she's the vice president of education currently. Marianna Burka, all yours.
Thank you very much, Brahm, for the nice introduction. And welcome, everyone. We are having a wonderful day. It is all about evaluation. You all heard the perfect educational on evaluation from Brahm earlier, and we could listen 5 contestants who are trying to be the best of today's contest. And now we will have a panel discussion with panelists who are expert on evaluation. As I did my research, I find that a panel moderator should be also an expert of the topic of the panel. Well, about that. Well, I am a Toastmaster, and I know about evaluation that it is hard. It is an art, and it is take practice to get better. So I consider myself an expert-ish. Before I introduce our panelists, I would like to offer you a chance to ask questions. Our chat moderator is Brahm Memone, so please post your question to him privately in our Zoom chat. And hopefully we can answer all the questions. That said, please welcome our first panelist, Adeline Nagu, straight from Singapore. Welcome, Adeline.
Hi, Marianna. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Our second panelist is our local evaluation master, Brent Pattison from Ontario, Canada. Please welcome Brent.
Great to be here, Marianna.
Thank you very much for coming. And one of our club members joining us straight from China, Percy Gotuako, or as they students call him, Mr. G. Please welcome Mr. G or Percy. Percy?
I can't find Percy.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
Thank you.
You disappeared.
Excellent. Thank you. Welcome, Percy, Adeline, Brent. So before we start talk about evaluation, I want you to introduce yourself or tell us about something about your Toastmaster journey. Adeline, would you please, in 2 minutes, give us some
Will
introduction?
do. 2 minutes. It's the table topics. So my name is Adeline. I'm president of the Toastmasters Club of Singapore, and I've been in Toastmasters for coming up to 2 years next month. And yes, I do see some of my club members here. Hi, Marcel. So I've been Toastmasters for 2 years, and I was very, very fortunate this year to compete in the World Championship of Public Speaking alongside Ferzi. Very, very blessed. I call myself an accidental finalist because I didn't expect to get anywhere near there. And I was so blessed to get the help of so many Toastmasters along the way. And tonight I'd love to share what I can learn, what I've learned along the way, because I look at myself as a very new Toastmaster as well. And so many of the mistakes that people are making are mistakes that I'm still making myself. So very happy to be here and to share what I can and all of us to grow together. Thank you. Back to you, Marianna.
Thank you very much, Adeline. Brent, please tell us about your journey.
Yeah, I've been in Toastmasters for almost 3 years, and one of my first introductions to Toastmasters meetings was jumping right into evaluations, and some of the feedback I got was not bad. I haven't had an opportunity to participate at such a esteemed level of the contest situation within Toastmasters as my 2 other esteemed panelists. But really one of the things and one of the reasons I think that I ended up, that Brahm ended up asking me to help found Leadership Speak was the one thing that I really emphasized as he was doing some of his demo meetings is that a club focused on leadership development really needed to be focused on evaluating the quality of evaluations, that ultimately it's the quality of evaluations that ultimately really bring out the most in speakers as well as in leadership qualities, and making evaluations a foundation of how we can create leadership development experience for the members of this club, and to really make this club shine apart from other advanced clubs was a foundational building block of what we really made a primary focus of this club, because it is something true to heart for me. I've got almost 30 years of senior leadership experience in the corporate world, and all along my experience in that, I really have embraced the fact that it's ultimately about the continuous feedback of being able to provide people with specific feedback about how they can improve, and to ensure that you're encouraging people to repeat the task, to do it again. And that really is, when I think about the purpose of evaluations, it really is twofold: to help that person improve and ultimately to encourage and motivate them to do it again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brent. And Percy, would you please introduce yourself and tell us about your Toastmaster journey to get to this point?
Thank you, Madam Moderator. My name is Ferzi Gotuako. I've been in Toastmasters for just a little over 4 years. Most of my Toastmasters is based on the foundations of 30 years as a theater teacher. Giving feedback is part of what we do. Feedback and evaluation is the breakfast of champions. My job is to help get my kids to be champions, not just in competitions, but even in our productions. I have to give a kid a grade. That has to be accurate. But there's also comments, there's also feedback, and that has to be incredibly encouraging and challenging. Meaning, I might have to give a kid a 70 out of 100, but I'm going to give them a lot of love and make sure that, as Brent said, you keep coming back, keep working, come on, come on, come on. I might also give a kid a 100 because they met every expectation of the class. But I'm also going to challenge them to keep going higher. Even though it's 100 out of 100, there's always the next step. How do we challenge someone to get to the next step? So it's not necessarily a matter of saying, oh, you weren't good enough. It's a matter of saying, how do we move you forward? Wherever you're at, how do I move you forward? There's also feedback during a production, in which case I've got 30 days of giving you feedback to keep getting better and better and better every single day. And sometimes that means finding a way to get inside your heart and inside your mind and phrase it in a way that makes sense to you, not just for myself, but to you, the listener, to you, the student, in this case, the speaker. That's what I think is important in what I do with an evaluation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Percy. Adeline, if you have to choose, I heard you speaking and you're an excellent speaker, and you have a choice, would you prefer speaking or evaluating? If it's up to you.
Wow. Speaking or evaluating, I think like what first you were saying, it's two sides of the same coin. I think both exist in a very symbiotic relationship. To be a good speaker, you also have to be a good evaluator, not just of other people's speeches, but also of your own speeches, and then use that feedback to feed back into your speech to make it better, and then also use that to inspire other people to step up, both as speakers as well as evaluators. So I would say I can't choose between two. It's like having to choose between my first and my second daughter. I love them both in different ways.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And that said, Percy, what do you think about, so which one comes first? You have to be a good evaluator so you can be a good speaker, or you have to be a good speaker so you can become a good evaluator? Is it a chicken or the egg?
Oh, it's definitely the chicken. Oh, wait, no, it's the egg. No, it's the chicken. No. Can I get back to you on that tomorrow? No, listen, it's about evaluating first, because to be a good speaker, you have to see it from the point of view of the audience. And what is an evaluator but the very best audience member you've got, right? So we have to be evaluators and be able to listen and to be able to hear and to be able to see and to be able to perceive. That way we know that as a speaker, I have to up my game so that my many different audience members can hear, can perceive, can see, can feel everything that I want them to feel. We're not up there to speak. We're up there to communicate and make a point and to make a connection. If I don't know what it is my audience wants and what my audience is seeing and hearing, then I'm just walking around in the dark.
Thank you very much, Percy. Brent, do you have a specific evaluation philosophy before you start listening to a speech and you have to evaluate? What's going through your mind? How do you assess the speaker?
Well, so I actually follow a pretty standard format. One side of it, that's not going to show because I have a virtual background. One side of the sheet of paper with the pluses, one side of the other side of the paper with minuses. And what I'm really looking for, though, more than anything, is not little one-off mistakes or one-off "this was awesomes." What I'm really looking for are the habits, the ones that are happening throughout the speech, because ultimately what's going to make a better speaker is to help them to continue their good habits while stopping any bad habits, and then ultimately helping encourage them to start some new good habits. In other things that can be repeated behaviors. One-off behaviors, almost no point in making them part of an evaluation. I'm really looking for what are the really good habits and what are their bad habits that I can help them hopefully change and maybe turn into starting some new good habits. So that's really the approach that I'm looking for when I do every evaluation, whether I'm evaluating a speech, whether I'm evaluating someone else's evaluation, or even in my professional life, if I'm evaluating someone's work, I'm looking for their habits.
Right. Thank you very much. Firstly, is there a difference when you are evaluating online presentation or in-person presentation, or doesn't matter?
I think in anything that you evaluate, you're looking at every single element that's included. So online, there are some elements that aren't there live, but speech structure, still gonna be there. Eye focus, there's gonna be some variety there. Yes, you can see where speech structure is gonna be the same in both platforms, but eye focus, you're gonna be looking this way and that way and that way and that way and here. For live and online, you're right here, but you can still shift. You can still engage. So the secret is not to let things become simplified. The secret is to make sure that you're looking at what they are doing on that platform and then how to maximize what they have, whether they're on stage live or whether they're here in Zoom.
I understand. Thank you. Adeline, do you evaluate new speakers the same way as you evaluate more experienced speakers? Do you make a difference when you are evaluating them? And what's the difference?
For me, definitely. So for me, I think it becomes what's the right balance of being a cheerleader versus being a critic when you're evaluating a newer versus a more experienced speaker. So for a newer speaker, someone who is doing the icebreaker speech or a level 1 speech, the key thing is to be very encouraging, very inspirational, because obviously for a newer speaker, you're going to find probably a lot more minuses on Brent's back of this page than the pluses, and that's okay. All of us have been there, right? When we started off, there's so many areas that we had to work on. So for me, when it comes to evaluating a newer speaker, what I want to do is actually have my ratio of plus to minus, and my comments actually is the reverse. I try and go 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. So I might highlight 3 good things that they did, and then just give one suggestion for change, because it's very easy for a new Toastmaster to be overwhelmed with the 50 things you have to change. And yes, they might have to change 50 things, but not tomorrow. They have a whole lifetime of Toastmasters speeches to work on those. So I try and be very, very focused and say, in your next speech, why don't you try it like that? And I also give more feedback in terms of the how they can do it. Because sometimes you just say, hey, work on your pauses. And they don't, when you're new, you don't really know what that means. Or hey, work on your vocal variety. And you're like, what is that? What does that even mean? Right? To give an example, hey, the part where you're talking about your mother, why not do it like that? And then I might demonstrate what I mean, and that makes it very clear. So with newer speakers, I try and be more focused in my recommendation and have a lot more encouragement in there. With more experienced speakers, a bit more critical, I'd say. And I think most more experienced speakers expect that, because if you tell them, hey, you did really well on your vocal variety, most of them kind of already know that. So you try and be a little bit tougher, like Fergie says, how do you push someone who's at 100 to 110? So hopefully that helps. Thank you, Marianna.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Adeline.
Marianna, we have some questions. When you are ready, let me know.
Yes, I have one question for all 3 of our panelists, and then I would like to ask Brahm to give us some questions from the audience. And this question would be for all 3 of you for a minute max, that if I am a new Toastmaster and I'm just learning my way around evaluation, what would be your advice, your suggestion, your golden nugget to a new Toastmaster to start evaluation? Brent.
Do some research. You know, the Toastmasters obviously has content on providing effective evaluations. Do that pathway project, right? Or YouTube, how to give effective evaluations. There's great stuff available, but educate yourself. One of the things, like when I think about evaluations, what's really important to me is that you actually know what you're talking about. You can't jump into an evaluation and start giving somebody advice about something that you know nothing about. If you don't know how to at least have the core components of what makes an effective speech, then you probably aren't ready to evaluate. You need to educate yourself at least a little bit so that you're providing actual advice that can be helpful to that person. Because if you're not providing advice that can be helpful, then you may actually be doing a disservice to the person that you're evaluating. Because again, the purpose of the evaluation is to A, help that person improve no matter how awesome they were, but make them better, as Percy said, and B, get them to do it again, motivate them to do it again. And if you're providing an evaluation that isn't based on some foundation of knowledge, expertise, or experience of your own, then you may actually have the opposite effect of your evaluation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bran. Percy, what is your golden nugget to a new Toastmaster, neophyte evaluator?
Page 3. Page 3 of the evaluation forms. There are so many details in there. You know, when you're first starting out, you don't know how to say things. So you tend to go towards superlatives. I really love, it's great. Look at page 3 and it tells you exactly why somebody gets a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or a 5. These things don't have to be binary. Eye focus is not you got it, you don't got it. Gestures are not you got it, you don't got it. There are so many different shades of successful. Use the verbiage that's there until you get more comfortable. And if you're not sure, like Brent said, if you're not an expert on something, don't say something that ends up messing up your speaker. Go simply with, I heard, I saw. Then what you're doing is being the best listener and the best audience member to your speaker. I could hear you do this. I could hear you do that. I saw you walk around the lectern. That in and of itself reinforces things to the speaker because they might say, oh my gosh, thank you for noticing. Thank you for noticing my tie. It took me half an hour to figure out which tie I should use. I just use that as an example, not to say that you got to wear a tie.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much. Adeline, what's your golden nugget for a new Toastmaster?
For a new Toastmaster? So I would say if for a new Toastmaster who may not be familiar with all the right range of skills to look out for, I would go with how it made you feel. Because as Fergie mentioned just now, ultimately, the speech is for an audience and you are the audience. So go with how it made you feel. Which parts touched you? Which parts did you feel was a little bit incongruent or unbelievable? And just start with that. And even if you don't know the right word for it, even if you don't know that it's body language you should use, but you say, hi, I really liked when you moved here and you did this, you know, I think that comes across. So for first time, the first few speeches, you're not going to know all the 10 core skills, and that's okay. If you know some, that's great, use them. If not, just go with, hey, I really like that because it touched me here. I like your message because it touched me here. I like when you said that because it touched me here. So that would be my advice. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. So for everyone, so we have YouTube. When you're starting out, we have page 3 and we have our heart. I think if you put this together, it is a very good beginning for an excellent evaluation. And now I would like to ask our chat moderator, Brahm, if we have any question.
Yes, we do. We have a question from Khalid Amin, and I think he's still in the room. Yes, he is. Khalid Amin wants to know, I always get comments on any speech I give on vocal variety, but never understand what the evaluator meant. Your comments, please, from any of the panelists.
Yes, Percy.
Usually it means it wasn't monotone. It usually means that your voice had good ups and downs. Now, if you want to take it to the next level, you can give advice on or give feedback on which tones worked better for that speaker. I could hear your low tones better. I could hear your high tones well, or try to match higher pitch with certain letters, like the I would have a higher pitch, at least in the English language. or lengthen your vowel sounds to communicate stronger emotions. Those are the kinds of things you could give feedback on. But in terms of what people are telling you, it's usually that if you have good vocal variety, then you didn't bore them.
I'll just add the one thing. Vocal variety really comes into play when the emotions of the words that you're saying match the tone of your voice. If you're saying something that's sad, or it's meant to be reflective, or something that you're super excited about because it's like the best thing ever, that your tone of voice matches the emotions of the words that you're using. That, I think, is when I look for vocal variety, I'm looking for, obviously, yes, that there is that variety, but it's because it matches the emotions of the words that you're using.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Brahm, any more questions?
Yes, I have. There's quite a number of questions. And I would think, if I may ask the Toastmaster of the day, that we will run a bit later because there's some great questions that we would like to really answer. And if you're asking a question, please put your video on so I can spotlight you next to the panel. Our next question is from Meena. And Meena has a question. She says, I have a question on how to handle pressure in contests and stay calm to motivate the speaker with effective evaluation.
Adeline.
Practice, practice, practice. I think like anything else, any other, standing on stage for the first time, taking part in a contest for the first time, you're going to be nervous and you're not going to be the best you can ever be, but that's okay. Practice, right? So just use that opportunity to learn, use every time, just practice a little bit more. How do you listen a little bit more? How do you sharpen your message a little bit more when you're delivering it? Honestly, I think that's the only advice I can give for overcoming nerves. Maybe Ferzi or Brent have secret tips in your arsenal.
Anybody else has any secrets? Ferzi?
Focus on the speaker. The more you focus on your message and the more you focus on who's receiving it, the less you have to focus on yourself.
Excellent advice. Thank you. Thank you. Did that answer your question, Meena? Excellent.
Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
Brahm, any more questions?
We have a question from AJ Heron. Does the panel... There she is, yes. And the question is, does the panel find that in practicing evaluation challenges... Oh, okay, I'm not sure how it's written, but let me try. AJ, why don't you just ask your question yourself?
Thank you, Brahm. My question to the panel is, do you find that in practicing evaluation, it challenges us to practice evaluation, motivating evaluation outside of our Toastmasters experience? In other words, it's not, here's my Toastmasters persona versus my persona outside of the club.
Brent, would you please answer?
Well, so the answer is absolutely, without question. The same skills that make an effective evaluation in Toastmasters, ultimately, it has to be positive, and you have to not only focus on the critique, but also the things that people are doing well, and encouraging them to want to do whatever it is that you're evaluating, to do it again in the future, but in an improved way. I think that whether that's how I give feedback to my kids, or whether it's in my job and someone that I'm evaluating, or if I'm helping a friend, how he can manage his business better. Yes, it's universally applicable in every respect, in every aspect of our life. I really do believe that. Every evaluation you do, you're going to learn from, hopefully, and you become a more effective evaluator in all other respects of your life.
Thank you. Anybody else has anything to add to that? Adeline?
100% agree. Oh,
Percy?
Oh, I'm sorry, Adeline. I think everything we do in Toastmasters has to apply outside of Toastmasters. Nobody joined Toastmasters to be good at Toastmasters. We joined Toastmasters to help us with something outside. So that includes our speaking, that includes our evaluations, everything has to apply. And specifically, when we can, we have to give an evaluation that targets our speakers' goals outside of Toastmasters. If you can help them make that connection, you're golden.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Brahm, any more questions?
Lots of questions. And like I said, we might go a little bit over time because there's some great questions. And so if the audience will allow us to go a little over time, that'll be great. We have Ray Rivero from Leadership Speak. And his question, if he can, his video isn't on, so I can't spotlight him. His question is, which aspect of a speech, like vocal variety, body language, etc., do you consistently evaluate?
Adeline?
I think like Ferzi said, page 3. There's also a wonderful resource on Lance Miller's page, the free resource, where he lists out the various elements that he looks for. And I would say there's about 10 core elements, of which most of them are on page 3. So, and in terms of evaluating them, really it's less of trying to tick them for every single speaker, but as each speaker goes through, it's what stands out for me. What stands out for me either on the plus side, in terms of that's something the person's doing really well, or what stands out for me on the minus side in terms of, hey, if this person worked on that, they could be much, much better. So I don't always try and cover all 10 elements in every evaluation. I just pick on the ones that stand out. And in terms of how many for each speaker, that has a little bit to do with how experienced the speaker is and where they are in terms of being able to receive that feedback.
Thank you very much.
That helps.
Thank you. Next question, please.
We have Shaurav. Hi, Shaurav. And his question is, what criteria do you use to narrow down your feedback when time is limited? Any recommendations on ensuring your advice is adopted? So during the time limitation, what is it that you will focus on, I believe?
Excellent question. Brent, would you please answer to that one?
What was most impactful for me? I'm going to go back to the little summation that you did there, Marianna. Come educated based on your experience of, whether it's YouTube or Toastmasters pathways, but how to deliver effective evaluations. Use page 3 and then listen to your heart. But when you're short on time, what was most impactful? What were the repeated habits that were most impactful that made a positive difference? And if they could make an improvement in the future, would really help improve to what your heart told you is going to be the most impactful. Don't worry about nitpicking the little finer details. Just really focused on what was the most impactful good habits and bad habits.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I jump in here on this one as well? So if, for anyone who wants to really brush up on an evaluation skill, I highly recommend watching the YouTube video by Jonathan Ping, whom I think is from Fuzzy. He's from your district. Jonathan Ping, if you just type in Jonathan Ping evaluation Toastmasters, it's such a wonderful summation of what a good evaluation is. And the one big thing I took away from that is a good evaluator covers the what, the why, and the how. And a lot of us stop at the what. So for example, we might say, I love the vocal variety, right? But the person doesn't really know what that is. So if you start with the what is the thing that stands out for you, either on the positives or negatives? What is the thing? Maybe give an example. For example, in the speech when you did this, then go into the why. Why is it so important for you to work on this or to continue developing that? Because when someone understands the why, it gives them a context for why this is something that they need to work on. And then lastly, give a how, especially for a newer Toastmaster, how you can apply this in your next speech. So a short example, just so that it concretizes that for them. So highly recommend that video. I'll look for the link now and post it in the chat. Jonathan Ping, evaluation something. Yeah. Please,
Percy.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm going to chime in as well. And this is going to come from left field, and it's probably my bias as a teacher. If I'm short on time, then I go for the point that I can help everyone in the room. Because I'm going to give you hard copy of everything anyway. everything that I've written, everything that I have to tell the speaker, I'm going to give them the hard copy or electronic copy of it. But what I can do in front of everyone in that room is I can give them something that everyone can tap into. And if it's a contest, then you're talking about engaging your audience as a evaluator. It's the perfect way to engage your audience. So I think it can win both ways. But primarily, how do you move the club forward? How do you move the entire club forward with that evaluation?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Excellent point. So it's not enough to point out what is wrong or need correction. You have to tell the speaker the why is wrong and how to correct it. And then you do a proper evaluation, if I understand correctly. Anya, welcome. I assume you have a question.
Anya has a question and it's long. So Anya, yourself, succinctly, because we are running out of time, succinctly, what's that question?
Okay, I'm trying to find it again, but I can probably word it. So I hate when I get only accomplishments for a speech and no suggestions. How do you handle that? I usually ask the other Toastmasters that are in the room, but the evaluator will go on and give the same evaluations to others. So how can you help him improve on his evaluation in future? Like, how do you handle that?
Yes, Brent.
Well, if you have a chance, speak with your evaluator before you deliver your speech. Let them know exactly what you're looking for in your evaluation. The more specific you are as a speaker about what you'd like to be evaluated on specifically, and if there's a manner that you're expecting the evaluation, then let your expectations be known. That's it.
I think it's mostly evaluators that are not as seasoned as us, right? That do that. I want to be careful how I go back to them, even if I give them instruction.
Then like all crucial conversations, then I would recommend a one-on-one conversation with that person after, and give them feedback about their evaluation and help evaluate their evaluation if that's the case, to help them improve as an evaluator. If you get a really weak evaluation of one of your speeches, I see nothing wrong with giving that person one-on-one feedback about how they could improve in the future to deliver more effective evaluations.
And let me say that in leadership speak, we evaluate the evaluators every meeting. The GE's job is to evaluate the evaluator. And that's important because that's how we grow. Next question, please. Hello, Marcel. Please unmute yourself and.
Okay, go ahead, Marcel, go ahead.
Hi, in an evaluation contest, how do you even find recommendations when the test speaker is already at world-class level, or at least very experienced or super good?
Excellent question, thank you. Who would like to answer? Percy.
I think you have to be completely honest. You do your best. There are things that you understood clearly. There are things that you may have been confused about. There are so many variations to the elements within a speech. Even within structure, there are a lot of different variations. Gestures. So many gestures are symmetrical. Maybe they could consider asymmetrical gestures. Maybe they're gesturing to their right, but not to their left. Maybe they forget to gesture behind them. We just got to keep pushing the envelope of things that we can do. With vocals, maybe they could laugh. Maybe they could make sounds that aren't necessarily words. Not necessarily things that set the ah counter into stratosphere, but those kinds of sounds that give us so much impact. Those are things that oftentimes even world champions don't consider doing because they're stuck trying to do a set Toastmaster speech.
Thank you, Percy. Adeline, would you like to add something?
I would agree with Percy. There's always something that can be improved, or at least a suggestion that you can give to say, hey, why not try this out? the next time you do the speech. And especially when it's a 5 to 7 minute speech, probably a lot of things were left out in order to get to that. So that also means that there's a lot of white space that the speaker can consider. Now, if the speech is really, really, really very good and you can't find 3 things to suggest, what I would do is then treat it as, hey, here's an educational moment for the audience. Let's talk about some of these things that speaker X did really well and why other people can consider using that in their speech as well. But I'm sure you can find at least 1 or 2 things that you can at least suggest that they can try in their next speech.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Samantha, what's your question?
Brahm, are you reading it or can I go forth?
Go ahead and make it succinct because a long question, so make it short.
I will. So my first question is around online versus in person. I'm a Toastmaster for 2 years. Online is all I know. I'm also extremely tall, and a lot of feedback I get is, please try standing. I love Toastmasters, but I am not willing to invest in a standing desk that will accommodate my height. I'm almost 6'3". And so it's thinking about when we're evaluating, should there be certain things that we should look for when we're doing online that are not applicable to offline? So kind of tailoring it a little bit. I know first you said earlier, I think it was, that there is things that will always be the same, but there's also things that are not also going to be the same when you're online versus in person. The second question, kind of off the bat of that, is there's very little in terms of accommodating people with disabilities. I've had evaluators tell me, take your glasses off, you're going to be marked down. And I'm like, well, if I did do that, I can't see a thing. And so hearing that also, you kind of disadvantaged, you go, maybe that's why I'm losing as a speaker, is because I'm wearing glasses, for example. But in my 2 years, I've never seen anybody with any kind of visible disability actually succeed in Toastmasters. And my question is this something we should start talking about? Thank you.
Yes.
Are you okay if I jump on this one?
Yes, please.
All
Yes.
right. Thank you, Samantha, for bringing that up. What can you do online? There's a lot of small details that you can do online that aren't necessarily going to read on a big audience. On a big stage, you can't see a finger move. Here, you can do this, and then you can do the Clint Eastwood thing, you know. Right? It's acting with your eyebrows. So, yeah, I know. I have that advantage. But the idea is you can do so much with just a subtle from here to here. I do recommend that you stand up. You don't have to get a stand-up table. Put your chair on top of the desk. You wouldn't believe how strange this looks right now in front of me. I mean, it looks so peculiar. It looks like I'm trying to reach Pluto. But go ahead, set yourself up. I'm also looking at your gestures right there. You're stuck with your elbows in front of you. Go ahead, pull back a little bit from the camera and give yourself a little bit of space. Use your wingspan. You still have this frame. Don't go out of frame, but those are the little things that you can give evaluation feedback to with people and improve ourselves.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And our time is up. So we have to stop, even though I know there are plenty of more questions, but I believe everyone learned something today. So as a beginner, please use YouTube. It's there for you to help you. Use the page number 3 and listen to your heart. And once you're getting more advanced, don't forget to explain not just the what, but the why and the how. And communicate with your speaker. It's all about, it's a group work. So thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation. Thank you for coming. And back to you, Madam Toastmaster or Brahm. I don't know who's managing the meeting now.
Before, François will take over, but before she does, for the panelists first here, there's a message for you in the judges evaluation WhatsApp. If you can just follow what I'm asking you there. Thank you very much. And back to François.
Sorry, can I just interject? I would like a photo with all the panelists. So if I could get big smiles and so I can take a photo when Percy's not looking at his phone. All right, 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again for all of you. Adeline, Brand, Percy.
Looks like our Toastmaster of the day has dropped out again, so I'll take over from here.
Thank you, Brahm. Wonderful.
Okay, so I'm going to be multitasking, so bear with me a little bit here while I wasn't expecting this. It's the technology thing today, unfortunately. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we have done our panel discussion and I'm just looking at the agenda. Our Toastmaster today was also supposed to be the general evaluator, and she's dropped out, so there will be no as to how well we did in the meeting as such. But however, now is also the time when we will, in a few minutes, when first is done his judging form, as to what it is that we need to announce the judges. So while he's doing that, ladies and gentlemen, to the audience, this is a question for the audience. Do you want the audience voting first or the judges voting first? What would you prefer? What would you like to know? How well did the audience do, or how well, or what did the judges rate the speakers? Anybody? Shout out.
The audience.
Again?
Audience.
Audience first. Okay. So while first is very quickly doing what he needs to do, in that case, we can announce what the audience has chosen. Or no, since first hasn't done his work, I can't do that either. So we will wait for a couple of minutes here while first is actually finishing off what he's doing there. Normally we don't announce judges and so on. This is informal. Bear with me. Nurul, are you there, Nurul? Were you able to connect? No, she has not been able to connect whatsoever throughout the meeting. Francois, are you there? Are you connected?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you're back. Okay, so what we are doing currently, Francois, is that we are asking whether we should announce the audience or the judges first. And I see that first has done his job as well. Let me just check. And we have results from the judges as well. Thank you so much. Okay, so now here, ladies and gentlemen, to announce to you how well we have done today. The audience. What did the audience choose as the first, second, and third place in our evaluators? The third place by the audience vote went to Fabiola Cleofa. Congratulations, Fabiola. The second place went to Raam Lakhanpal. Congratulations, Ram. Drum roll, first place. First place went to Sudarshan Seshadri. He's a brand new member in Leadership Speak. He just started today and is won by the audience vote. Congratulations, Sudarshan. Now,
thank you very much.
I'm multitasking. I hope I get this right. Yes, actually it's unanimous. It's unanimous. The third place goes to, according to the judges, the third place goes to Sandi Emdin. Sandi, congratulations. The second place, the same as the audience, Raam Lakhanpal. Congratulations, Ram. So looks like there was unanimous between judges and the audience. And the first place, oh my goodness, the suspense. You wouldn't believe this. Sudarshan Seshadri, overwhelmingly by the judges and the audience. Congratulations, Sudarshan. You are the new champion of Leadership Speak.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. And so now, if I may ask our Sergeant at Arms to spotlight all of them, and I'll also bring back your Toastmaster of the day to conclude the meeting. Francois, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah. I'm glad that you're back. Okay, here you go. All yours, and we will add all the, while you're concluding, we'll add all the other, all the winners. So.
Wonderful.
Go ahead.
What an event today. What a fabulous event today. from the beginning of the meeting coming right down to the end. I know a lot of notes was just taking screenshots, writing. Oh, the fingers. But we learned a lot. And we want to say thanks to Brahm for the special leadership segment of giving feedback about the evaluation. Then we had the contest itself. And yes, it was a contest, but we practiced and learned a lot, like, okay. And then things do happen, network challenges. But we want to say thanks to our evaluator, unfortunately, who could not participate. Thank you so much for that extra effort that you tried, but you know what? We appreciate it. Thank you as well to our moderator, Toastmaster Marianna. Beautiful content, well delivery. Everyone asked questions. We went over time, but you know what? We didn't mind because the questions definitely were valuable, and it's questions we don't necessarily get to ask in a club level. But when you have advanced level where you have heard the experts, ask the questions so that now we can take it back to our club and assist our members, our leaders. I like to say that, our leaders. Congratulations to you, the evaluators, for participating in the contest. You didn't have to do it. You could have said nope, but you stuck right in, you went through, and I know you took away a lot of aha moments. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm assuming by now, we have someone who's taking the photos. Let me know so that I can give my cheese. And then I will hand over to Brahm to close us off. Thank you.
Brahm, have you taken photo? I took one as well. All right, I'm going to take one. Big smiles, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Perfect.
Thank you. We now hand over to Brahm to close us off.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster of the Day. Thank you. Despite all the technical difficulties, because we've got people from Sri Lanka where they have power outages on a very regular basis. Actually, the member herself is the engineer at the power plant, and she had outage. She can't give herself power to come on and be in the meeting. Amazing. And then, of course, we had power outages in South Africa, or likely to be, but Samantha was here most of the time, and Francois from the Caribbean, where they were hit by a hurricane recently. And so that is expected. Ladies and gentlemen, we can still survive online meetings, and Leadership Speak is an online club. It will always forever be online. And that is our commitment to reach all Toastmasters globally and help each other get to the next level. I hope this was an important or a very informative session for you to up-level your evaluation skills. Thank you so much for all being here. I would like to speak to all our guests because, of course, we are looking for members for Leadership Speak. This is an amazing club. Of course, I'm the founder. I'm biased, but hey, for those of you who know that I don't attach my name to anything that isn't great. Even if it was my club, if it wasn't great, I would quit and do something else. So this is a great club, and most people here can attest to that. I will close the meeting, but we will hang on for the guests. I would like to talk to you. This meeting officially is adjourned. We can stop the recording now. Thank you very much.